Doggy.
Do you remember when you got Still Life with Berg?
No. It was, the piece really got me because it was so, I thought, kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
And the story was also kind of beautiful. This woman that he wanted to recruit to do the casting thought he wanted to fuck her. And it turned out that she wasn't too against that, but she didn't know about the money and this and that. Now, there's other stories about it that I've heard since then. That's what Ed told me at the time it was made. And he got her in the studio, and Nancy did most of the casting, but not all.
Mm-hmm.
And he had it as he made it to be a. It was designed to be a bathroom fan. And I liked it so much, we worked out a deal. We worked out a lot of deals with Ed on all the stuff we required all those years. Most of them were trades, clothes or boats or stuff. And this guy with the fierce reputation of being take the gold out of your teeth, which he was capable of. His modus operandi with me and Betty was who can be the most generous to the other. It operated on that level. And not through dealers and not through just friendship. And in the beginning, it seemed like we were the only ones that were putting value on it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've had that. But I think it's useful to know that Keynotes had the other side, beside the side in which he could manipulate and deal and be in control.
And you guys ended up getting a place in Idaho near his place, right?
Yeah, well, we were very close here, and we had a place at the time in Arrowhead, and he used to come not every week, but he would come whenever we could get a breakaway. That was my first chance to get a day off from my work. And we'd go up to that old house we had in Arrowhead. And one time he gave us a big cement TV, which nobody in Arrowhead to carry it down to our house, which was on a hill. And he just hugged it to his chest and carried it down himself and put it there and gave it to us. And then after a few years up there, we dropped it and broke it, and we weren't terribly upset. You know, he was kind of pissed off that we weren't a little more concerned about having lost it. But anyway, he wanted us to go to Idaho instead of Arrowhead. And so my oldest son, Tom, the one that traded off this car for this piece, that story is the one in which my son he was 16, and he had an old Nissan Jeep.
Uh-huh.
It was a real terrible piece of work, but he was into that, and Ed wanted that. And when Tommy went away to college, Ed said he wanted to buy it, and he wanted to get it. And Tommy said that he needed $1,300 for the car, and he wasn't going to. I said, well, if you take it, go over to Ed's, you're going to get sworn, you're going to get dealt out of it. There's no way nobody will get this. So he came home that night about 1 in the morning, and he had this piece under his arm. And I said, what happened? He said, you know what? If I had had 3 cars, I'd give him all 3.
Get 3 pieces.
So he just wanted that piece. He really wanted it.
And that piece is related to the Barney's Beanery and the assemblage?
Yeah, I sketched all the Barney's Beanery kind of documentary and the photographs and little piece of stuff and so on. Barney's Beanery was a kind of a catch-all. She had it had my wife's old mink stole that she had gotten from her mother, I think, and had little pieces of other clothing from us. And So, he had stuff from us in almost everything he made. He either had our cast bodies or our kids' writing or Betty's clothes or whatever. And I'm sure we weren't the only ones, that did, but he had that going. And kind of missed
Yeah.
having that around. But I was thinking the other day before you came about the difference in the time and the time that we were operating, that we were interested in art and artists and dealing with them, was a time that we were really involved in politics. We did much to run the Adlai Stevenson campaign here with help of Eleanor Roosevelt, and we worked to make money for that, and so the people that are around us were pretty much the kind of people that were interested in what's happening. It's like their equivalent of what's happening now.
Yeah, yeah.
We had the hope, we didn't have the realization of it, and so the artists kind of fit into that scene for us. Most of the ones that we knew, they were kind of outside the bullshit that we thought was tendant to McCarthy and the fear of communism and all that kind of stuff. And we grew to really have good relationship with them. They were really friends, and that influenced our buying of art. Although with some of them, we just loved them, but we didn't like their work. So our problem was how to communicate that we appreciated them, but we didn't want to talk about what they were making.
Who were the first artists you got to know in the 50s?
Richards Rubin.
Sure, he's an abstract expressionist painter.
Yeah, right. Let's see, Ed, of course. The host, Craig Kaufman, George Herms very early. First saw George Herms, he was like a nymph in the woods, running around naked, birthing his own kids.
He hasn't changed a lot.
Yeah.
No, by the way, we have Sunday in the park with George every single Sunday. He comes here for dinner. We cook dinner together every Sunday night.
Is that right?
Yeah, he tells us that pretty regularly.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. No, he was one of the very, really outrageous and authentic artists, and he was then. He still is art. He is the art. It's like, he made some really beautiful stuff and some not so beautiful stuff, but his strain of love and poetry and presence is just what fuels it all.
And he's constantly making art. We had him up at the Getty in residence for about a year and a half altogether. And the amount that he made during that time is just unbelievable.
And and he doesn't think of it in money terms at all, really.
No.
Some guy came here from Paris, a dealer, and scooped up a whole bunch of stuff. Took it back and gave him a couple of shows.
He took a whole shipping container. Yeah.
What?
Took a whole shipping
You
container.
didn't get that much? Jeez. And
but it was kind of rotting out in the
oh
in the
yeah,
desert
well
anyway.
I mean it would have been just still there 10, 20 years from now. No, and the guy is apparently done well with it.
Yeah, well, I mean, the great thing for us, because we were kind of supporting George for a little while, was that the guy's giving him a monthly check, which is...
He is now, yeah.
Yeah, terrific.
Yeah, really, and he didn't ask for it, or didn't bargain for it, nothing. The guy just, he just didn't even, think in those terms. So he's a good one. So there was lots of them. Phil Hefferton was a very central one for us. He was an interesting character in that he's this big guy. He was, when I first knew him, he was making art, Betty and I got to know him. He lived in an old portion of an old house across the street from the Elks Club. You know where the Elks Club is on near Alvarado and.
I live over by there. Yeah.
Yeah. And actually, I stayed there with my dad just after I got back from the war for a few weeks. And Hefferton was across the street. And he had a little coterie of guys, Jim Eller and a few others that he kind of got inspiration from him, I think. And he kind of did something that Ed did for a while with those wood relief paintings before he came off the wall. He was deliberately trying to make them repellent and hide the kind of beauty in them. Using a broom to paint with and stuff like that. And so there's the thing that Heffernan did was he painted in a mixture of mostly pop and maybe a little abstract expressions, but nothing, but all realist and all kind of deliberately crude, not to fake something, but the way his mind was going at the time. I think he was using a few substances, but he was always lucid. When I first met him, his job, what he was really doing, was giving therapy to damaged people who had problems. And I remember once in the living room, he turned to Betty and me. He said, we had a few drinks, and he said, when men can talk to each other in whispers, we won't need art anymore.
Huh.
So.
Did he go? Because I know the dog.
He's lived in a car for years up in Santa Cruz.
Oh, really?
Up in Santa Cruz. Is that what you were referring to?
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to him when he left
Well,
LA.
when he left there, he ran into his a long-lost daughter called Truth, and he began to live with her. She began to kind of take care of him, and we corresponded, and I've lost touch with him. I had his last address, isn't working anymore. But he writes these letters, they're a little bit abstract, and then on the back of them he makes drawings.
So these have letters on the other side of
Yeah,
them?
they're letters.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then there was Joe Good. There was
Did you know them all as a group? Because you have Ed Burrell and Joe, all the ones who
Oh,
were
yeah,
in the
we
War
knew Ed
Babies?
well. We did what?
All the ones who were in the War Babies show?
Oh yeah, we knew all of them, yeah. Well, we didn't know Alexander. Was the one in the War? No, that we knew all the War Babies, yeah.
It was Larry Bell and Roy.
Larry, Craig, Billy. Was there Billy in there? No.
It was
No.
young.
Ron
It's Joe
Michik-
Good and Larry Bell and Ed Ruscha.
Ed
No,
Ruscha,
Ed
yeah.
Burrell.
Ed Burrell.
Ed Burrell, yeah.
Ed Burrell, sorry.
And Ron.
Ron.
Migashi.
Ron Miashura, yeah.
Yeah, me sure.
There you go.
Yeah, that's why I think that's the main motivation for Ed wanting to revive that show, to give Miashura some window.
Oh, Ed wants to revive the show?
What?
Ed wants to revive that show?
Yeah, he does.
You know, he was, Ed Ruscha was supposed to be in it, but then he got called up into the Navy, and so he couldn't be in the show.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think he would be in the show if they get one together.
In the revised.
Yeah.
Maybe we can convince Frank to take that show.
Sure.
Frank,
when we-
well, that's the natural home for the show. Is Frank.
Yeah.
And no one has ever considered except Frank for that. You know, so.
Sure. I could do that.
So some of the other guys, you know, the guy that did the tables settings, what the hell was his name? Let's see. We were very close and very friendly with Gifford and Joanne Phillips. They were like part of our family too.
Who also had wonderful. They had a great collection as well.
Well, yeah, I remember that I was so much into the guys that we were involved with that that I went to, we stayed with a weekend with, why are we standing up like this? We want to sit down somewhere?
Or why don't we go look at some more work and then we'll talk?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go. Let's see, nothing in this bathroom said photographs.
Stumped.
Is that George's?
I can't see that.
It's a picture of a little girl beneath a tree and
Oh,
there's
no,
a ladder
that's-
leaning up.
That's, it's in our horse corral in Idaho, so that's granddaughter Rose.
Uh-huh.
These are all kids.
Who did that?
I don't know.
Oh.
Stumped.
This one is from the ophthalmologist. Hello.
I never seen one of the wood reliefs before.
One of the woods?
Yeah, these are great.
Yeah, it's got a big one in the dining room. This is like all that.
That's a really old one.
That's Ed, still alive. Drawing, what's called drawing for still alive.
Do the lights turn on?
Yeah.
This one has a really good story too, Andrew.
Stand over here with you.
Yeah. Right there, and the direct, right here.
Did it shoot you?
The
Tell the story.
The chances of it shooting are somewhat less than you're dying from falling into that couch. But they're there.
Is this the one that it shoots every
300 years.
300 years? Wow.
And it
Sadly,
was mounted in Berlin, and then when they found out, it made them take it down.
I wonder if the Getty would let us imagine the liability.
That's what I said.
He loved
That's what I said.
He loved confounding authority. And, you know, the Germans are totally out of their possibility of any thought that could happen.
That's amazing. Who is that?
It's Alexander Lieberman.
You know, we have his whole archive of all the photographs.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, we
Vanity
do.
Fair, was it? Yeah.
Well, but also all the artist studios he did. You know, he did that book
Oh, that's
on,
right, that's right. He did this studio.
on
That was
the
beautiful. That was good.
on all the Europeans, and then he did a book of all the American artists as well. But he never published it. But we have all the photos.
Wow. Interesting man.
Did you know him?
No. But he was a very cultured, color-based kind of a guy, as I could make it out. We did not know him. And, what else could I tell you? I'll show you that big wood piece in the dining room when we go in there.
Yeah.
I mean, what is it you want me to talk about?
Exactly what you're.
Yeah, this is perfect.
It's perfect. Just about your
Because
experience with
some
the
of these
artist.
things are long past our original forays into art. With when Everett Allen came out here and when David Smith came out here, those days are a very small part now of what we got up on the wall, but it's there.
So how did you meet Everett Allen? Just through his opening gallery?
Yeah,
Or?
just throw us open the gallery.
He's we had him out
Did you?
a few years ago. He was an interesting guy and a pain in the neck.
Yeah, well, I don't remember a lot about him except that he wore kind of classic, blazer, navy blazer and tan slacks kind of clothes. And I don't remember much else. He was kind of not prim, but he was sort of. He didn't seem comfortably ensconced with the artists that we knew, but yet he did show them.
But he was definitely not a bohemian.
No, he was not. He was just kind of looked like the opposite, more or less.
Do you remember going to some of the things like the Nikki DeSant Fall, where she did the shooting?
Oh yeah,
thing?
yeah, they stayed with us, Nikki and George and John. And she had a bathroom. I forgot to show you. Got two pieces of art that they sent back of letters, and then they made us some sculptures in our yard, water sculptures that kind of destroyed themselves. They destroyed the lawn too. No, she was wonderful. By the way, we spent time with them, and that was the time we spent with Don Cherry, who I consider one of the artists. He was I don't know if you know who he is.
Yeah.
Okay. He's got two children still around, Nene, and by the way, his wife was an artist. We have one of her pieces of work. My daughter has one, Ramogi. She did quilts,
I used to go see his daughter perform in New York when I was
you
a
did?
kid. Nina Cherry, yeah.
Nene. And
Andrew, do you want to just take that and?
I'm fine.
Okay.
yeah, we
I've
got to
been
share.
saying all day.
So, what can we talk about?
You mentioned David Stewart, and you have
Dave Stewart,
David
yeah.
Stewart in the living room. How did you meet him?
Dave, I forgot how we met Dave. We met him on, he used to come to Ferris and kind of put his note, when they brought in Warhol and so on, David got real upset. And not upset, so he just did a lot of things to make fun of it in his own gallery, putting up the real Campbell soup cans and so on, say they're much cheaper at my place. And we met him through Ed Primus. His partner was a guy named Ed Primus.
Primus Stewart, yeah.
Primus Stewart. And they were especially Ed Primus was the most adaptable smuggler of the time. He brought all this pre-Columbian.
Pre-Columbian.
And we were always interested in that. So he and we played poker with him both. And I remember Ed Primus, Primus, when it was a huge bluffer, took a couple of hands to catch on who he was, and then he was like down the slopes. and so when he lost, I remember he wrote a check, and the check said, roofing.
Did you like, or did you go, because I think Primus Stewart showed Peter Volkus for a while.
Oh, well, Peter Volkus was our hero. We just loved him. Peter Volkus was he was another one we played poker with, but he was larger than life. He was what was the name of this guy? The Greek, mythical Greek character in a book.
Zorba the Greek?
Zorba.
Zorba, yeah.
He was far, I thought, beyond Zorba in terms of his own persona. I mean, Frank knows more about him than I do, I suppose. But we loved. We stayed at his studio. Went to his studio in Berkeley on the Oakland, on the tracks there, and we were there when homeless guys would shuffle in, and he put them up for the night, give them a bottle of stuff, and robbed the university blind legally.
Did you know him when he was at Otis? When he was in
No,
LA?
I did not. I became the chairman of Otis when Missy Chandler was disenchanted with the way it was being run, and I was there for a few years. and I was able to bring in. I wanted to get other people in there, you know, real artists in there, and people. They were running a interview for directors, and I was to review them. And whenever I got an interview that came into me that looked like they were describing Jesus Christ, I knew I had a loser here. The ones with the longest resume turned out to be the most retrograde, I thought, in terms of what that art school needed.
Uh-huh.
So I was able to bring Emerson in, and I brought it in, and the only way I could get, I wanted Gordon Woods from San Francisco Art Institute, and of course they were not about to take somebody like that. So the way I got him in was that I proposed Walter Hopps. And when I proposed Walter Hopps just to anybody.
Everybody knew about Walter by
Oh
then?
yeah, they knew that he was at least some of them. Most of them were kind of old, rich guys. You know. Volkas was an early hero, a wonderful artist, and respected by all these young guys that we knew. And O'Dowd was making those dollar bills after Hefferton did.
Yeah.
And then we loved Rubens' work, but we were really infatuated with his stuff. We couldn't get enough of it, really.
He's somebody that had that
Died.
and his career never really took off. There's a dealer in New York who's bought up a lot of yeah. What to think of her name? Anita Shapolsky.
Uh-huh.
I went over there, she has 20 or 30 of them. Big canvases, you know.
Yeah. Well, he was wonderful. He was the kind of a looser Clifford Still, I thought. He was one of those guys like, he had a facility like our friend here, the Armenian artist who was
John Altoon?
John. And he had this, John and Dick Rubens had the same, they said if we had a cup of coffee here and he kind of doodled on a piece of paper as we drank, it would be a beautiful piece of work. He couldn't get away from doing anything with his hand that wasn't beautiful.
Altoon was another really larger than life kind of guy, wasn't he?
He was wonderful. He was a lovely man, and I didn't know him intimately, but we did spend a lot of time with him. He was erratic. He had some kind of a psychological, and he scared the hell out of Larry. Larry, I remember. I got a call. He got on the loose one time, and when he had one of his episodes, one of the things he threatened and did is to destroy other guys' canvases. So Irwin and Larry Bell were pretty much paralyzed by it when we knew he was on a loose at some particular time. They locked themselves in the studios, and I think in Larry's studio, I have to ask Larry about this. He rapped on the door. He actually punched through with his fist to the place whenever he got inside. And he was sweet and meek and gentle when he was normal, you know. And a beautiful, beautiful painter. And our lives were really enriched by just being in a relationship with these guys. You know, it was. We didn't think about whether this or that other. They were just not part of the kind of stifling scene of, you know, you eat at my house, I'll eat at your house, and we do all these social things. We never could quite get into that. And these guys were great. They come, you know, they drop in and drop out. And we loved what most of them did, and kind of valued it. for ourselves. Never sold anything.
Larry was an incredibly, from the picture, sharp dresser. Did he get his clothes from
yeah.
you?
Yeah, some of them. But he was he was an eccentric dresser. He was great. He was the kid. He was the boy, the young guy. Yeah, I know he kind of wanted Ed's approval a lot, and which Ed gave it to him. And early on, the very first thing he did, the first shaped canvases, were a problem for me. It's like the very first line paintings of Irwin I had a problem with. So he would walk around the block with me, asking me what I thought. First I asked what Ed thought, and Ed said, okay, okay. And then I would keep talking to him about everything in the world, but what I really thought of was very early was I was not up to him. And I didn't value him as much as I did later.
But you liked the boxes when he started making
Oh,
those?
the boxes were wonderful, yeah. And I remember with Gifford and Joanne Phillips, we stayed with them in their house in the desert, and there was a walkway between our bedroom and the bathrooms over here. And then that little hall, there was a huge painting by Diebenkorn, one of the early Diebenkorns, totally abstract, but really tough. The beach, what was it, Venice Beach, or I forgot the series.
Ocean Park?
Yeah.
Ocean Park. And I was offended, when I first walked by it, I was almost insulted by it. I couldn't just handle it. And every time I walked by, it got a little less insulting. And then when we left after about 3 or 4 days, I was just totally in love with the painting, which was a pretty good lesson about how, you can get a reverse, at least I could get a reverse hit on a painting, and then seeing it deeper and deeper, find us really got value.
Well, I think what you said, very often really good art bothers us a little bit at first, and then...
What?
What you were saying about Irwin's line paintings and Bell's shape, really good art often bothers you a little at first, and then...
Well, Irwin was wonderful, both as a friend and as an artist. We gave away one of those dot paintings to Otis, which I wish we hadn't. But Irwin was really a character, a marvelous man, but oh my God. When we were staying in Lake Arrowhead in our house, we had an old outboard, which I later traded to Ed. And Irwin, who was a total, uncompromising, risk-taking person with motorcycles or boats, or mostly with water skiing. He would get on the deck, on the edge of the deck with one water ski, and then have the boat charge out at 30 miles an hour, throw the rope up in the air, and then leap off and make it. And I went with him in my little boat, and he was skiing back of me, and I'm going along in Lake Arrowhead, and I look back there, and here he is on one ski with a rope around his neck.
Oh my God.
It just raised me and scared the hell out of me. I never quite forgive him for that, I didn't ask to have somebody put their life, out there at risk, and that I could feel bad about the rest of my life. But he was ultimate risk taker, and I think his art kind of reflects that a lot.
He's amazingly hardy still, now that he's 80, he still, is running around everywhere, and, because we have the garden at the Getty. And,
yeah, I know he did that. He's a wonderful human being, too, I think. Always, I felt him a sterling person. But he filled out the the myth, which I remember early on, they say that the people who live the longest among ours are sculptors. So he was one of the, we call him a sculptor now, but he's lasting the course. And he's very, he's uncompromising whatever he kind of moves toward. Perfect Coke, you know, he had a formula for Coca-Cola. It had to be exactly the perfect Coke, from the perfect place, perfect temperature, and so on.
It's funny because when we've had him a few times at the Getty to speak and things, and before he speaks, he always wants a Coke.
It's lifelong. And it's not just Coke. I can tell you, there is a formula for the kind of Coke he has to have. And it reflects can, the temperature, the whole, everything about it. It's just got to be perfect. So that's not too much about art. Who else do you want to
What are we
talk
going
about?
to
Would you like to show the rest of the things maybe in the living room or the dining room?
Yeah, come on.
Because there's a big Irwin disc in the living room.
Okay, come on.
More keynotes.
And
Supreme Court.
Andrew, did you have a chance to see, to go inside the bathroom here and see the keyhole store? And
What's that?
Yeah, that's the one that Gemini did.
Right, yeah, right.
And the shade comes down, and then there's the picture
Yeah,
of
yeah.
five-card stud.
Yeah, right. This is Jeremy Anderson. Do you know his work? or not?
No.
He's a sculptor from Northern California that does it by wood. He makes these large, almost Goldberg, sculptures.
Rube Goldberg.
Rube
like?
Goldberg, but they're
Yeah.
all whittled out of wood. And I remember one of his things he said was what his life is about is a search for uncertainty.
That's a nice
Yeah.
sentiment.
Monty, will you pull that down one more time without Andrew in the,
Isn't it?
Well, you've always read about it because of the.
that's great.
I've never seen it.
Thank you.
Good.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about.
Well, that's Bill Copley. Whenever he stayed with us, he would,
For the plate?
yeah,
This.
always on the same side. Well, I'll show you. I got a Bill Copley in the guest house that you always
Okay.
see.
Authority and there's danger.
Definitely. And the whole time, all of it.
I'm going to show you a copy.
Lovely. And this is the park. The park. This is the park where you have Sundays with.
It's one of the dentos, right?
Yeah, that's about Betty and the two Bettys, Betty Asher and Betty Factor, had a little Lexus gallery for a while.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and that was from their gallery. And this is my mother-in-law also. And that's, I look at my mother-in-law, I thought it was pretty good, that woman she carved. And this is
Richard Jackson.
Richard Jackson, when he was our son-in-law for a while, and when we had an old house up there on Evanston Street with a kind of an entry, very old house, 1911, and he made that for us when they got married.
That's a nice one.
It was a good piece.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the names of these two young women that sculptors are.
Oh, she's,
You know who they are?
yeah, I can't think of her name. I think it was in Pasadena and it'll come back to me.
Oh, good.
So is this where the guests stay?
Yeah, right. This is a copy.
That's really nice. Do you know him well?
Oh, yeah, he was very close. We had his research, our friendship with him started in, I think around 1947.
Which is right, is that right around when he opened the gallery?
Yeah, so when he came here, and then he opened a place at a little store that sold machine part, automobile parts called Center Puff, PSENNERPAUFF. We call this dog language. Anyway, he opened his gallery there, and he was there for 1 year. And of course, you know, he didn't
Sell anything, yeah.
no, we sold one piece to the Coca-Cola heir, who came in dead drunk, and then we never saw him again. This is Hefferton.
Oh, this is a Hefferton.
Yeah. And I kind of always thought this was a portrait of John Mason.
Really?
Portrait of John Mason?
That's what I can't get a hold of him to have him tell me. I think that's what he had, who he did. This is my mother-in-law. That's, I don't know who this ceramic artist is. Frank would know.
And this is another part of the portable war memorial?
That's the drawing for the Portable War Memorial.
Oh, so you left
Portable War
it,
Memorial was ours. We owned it. I commissioned it.
the hotel
The
block.
whole piece. He wanted $5,000, and literally didn't have it. But then he came and said, well, he's got some real asshole who's willing to put up the money, and he would not like to let him have it, and so on. So we bought it. We commissioned it. I mean, it wasn't made yet. And then he made it as he, price went up a little bit as he made it, but that turned out to be okay. And we got it. And then I had no place to put it. We were going to put it in a bedroom, but it was 13 feet high and 33 feet long. We didn't have a bedroom. We could handle that.
Yeah, no.
So what we did, I put the what's her name, the singer, Clark, Kate Smith.
Kate Smith.
It was a garbage can. We kept that in the house. We were playing God Bless America, and then and I stored the rest of it in a friend's car lot, and finally Henry stored it, and then they came up in Idaho. The guy from Cologne came and offered to buy it, and he offered us like 5 or 6 times what we paid for it. So I said, okay, well, Dad, it's yours. He said, I don't give a shit what you do. So we sold it, and I split it in half, and we took the money, and then we went to Stockholm with Pontus Hilton and had a big European good time.
Oh, that sounds like. Was it Casper Koenig who bought it from you?
What?
Was the guy Casper Koenig
From Cologne?
from Cologne?
Oh, I don't remember the name. It
Or
doesn't
Ludwig?
sound like that. What?
Ludwig?
Ludwig. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was from Ludwig Gallery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't remember the guy's name.
Mm.
But it didn't sound like it was that one you sing. Do you know the work of Ellen Zimmerman at all?
No.
You know who she is?
No.
She's she was the wife of the guy who was the director of the MoMA. What's his name? Kurt
Barnadoe, yes.
Varnado.
I do know her who she is.
Yeah, then she does. This is her piece from her. She studied with Irwin, and she and I shared a common friend. She and I and Betty, and so we became friendly. And then I got this piece from her. It was her graduation. It was totally taken from Irwin.
Yeah.
Irwin and what's the other? The guy that made just like black paintings.
Ad Reinhardt.
Ad Reinhardt, right? That's another.
Was she in Irvine
I don't know where she was at school, but she. I don't know. I don't think Irvine was
in
in
business
at
yet.
that time, yeah.
So she must have been a
Paul Brock. That's Paul Brock.
Paul Brock, who was running Cal Arts.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the Duchamp dinner.
Right.
And that's, are you
Yeah,
in?
who is it? Monty, will you tell us who everybody is?
Okay. Richard Hamilton, first is Teeny Duchamp on the left, then there's Richard Hamilton, and then there's Betty, and then up above there are two unknowns sitting on another level. This was in the when they opened the Lido de Paris at Stardust, and we had a store there
In Vegas.
in Vegas, and we all went to visit the Lido, and then we stayed at our hotel. And then the other one is me, cigar, and then there's Walter, and then there's Betty, Asher,
Hmm.
and then there's Marcel Duchamp.
It's a great photo.
Yeah. One of those people that come by the table, you know, in the hotel. Richard Hamilton, out of his mind about Las Vegas.
Oh, he loved
Oh
it?
my God. Get in a taxi cab, I used to worry to get his head, he'd stick his head so far out of the cab looking at the street and the, you know, and Duchamp had a good time. He would sit at the tables and make silent bets without putting on any money.
Well, he did I don't know if you know this piece, he did a piece called Monte Carlo Bond
Oh, yeah?
in the 20s where he had a scheme to how to break the bank
Oh, yeah.
in Monte Carlo.
That's interesting because I had an uncle who broke the bank twice.
Really?
Yeah.
Were you born out here, Lonnie?
I was born in St. Louis.
St.
I
Louis.
came out here when I was 7.
So you don't have much memories of St. Louis. Most of your memories are
Oh,
from
here,
out here.
but I
Yeah.
still remember surprising amount from St. Louis. Came to Oakland. So now, I think that's all this stuff.
Did you have this built or was this here when you bought the house?
What's that?
This addition.
No, it was here. It was a garage. I mean, no, that was here. They put it, they It's a natural fish pond down there. Natural,
Is it fed from?
naturally comes from underneath the ground, spring. No, that, I put a pump in there, it's a pump the water up. It does keep it good.
That's great. So rare to have.
Well, you know,
Natural
the
water.
interesting thing, this house had that spring, and they had another one under that alder tree. It wasn't nearly as full now. It was just wet and moist, but not a real full spring. Now there's a house 2 blocks away on the corner. And it's the identical. People took it out.
They took it out?
Guy, you know, they spent a fortune fixing the house up. Took it out for a swimming pool.
Huh. Did you get to know him pretty well?
Yeah, we did.
Shut that.
Sure. The living room, I'm doing tiling the porch, so your living room's all jumble, that's why we didn't go, when you came in, didn't have you sit there. Come on, we'll show you.
Andrew, have you seen this piece before?
Oh,
George?
nice.
No.
George Herms. That's his supreme.
That's a wonderful piece.
Pretty incredible, isn't it?
Where did you?
We got, this was, in the, Walter showed this in Pasadena, and then police took it away. It's got marijuana seeds in it.
And didn't somebody deface the flag?
Well, I guess I don't know why they, but I don't remember all the things they said, but the thing I remember is it has to do with marijuana. So I don't think their flag defacing was a big deal then.
So then there's the marijuana seeds.
Yeah. Also might be in the stars of the flag, as far as I can tell.
That's a great
That's-
piece.
That's, I think that's our most valuable.
And it's called Five High?
Five high. The five highs.
Five High.
And they're all described in there, shown in there.
That's really terrific.
Isn't
It's-
it wonderful?
Yeah.
And there, as you know, very little survives from George, from that era.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought he had all that stuff. Whatever it was. This is, Ms. Johnston.
There really is a
Hmm.
pretty piece.
I've never met her. We tried to get her to come to something. She said she really wasn't well and didn't want
She's shy, I'm sure. I haven't seen her for years and years and years. She's always a
Can't
shy
get the whole
person.
thing in on my camera.
This is number one drawing from Barn Drop. Ed.
to. It's got those big old plugs.
Is it plugged in, Di?
No, I don't think it is. Which one is it?
Black one, see?
Just the black one?
Wait a minute.
That should go.
My eyes are bad, so I can't tell.
Is it plugged in on your end, Andy?
I just plugged it.
There it is. Now is it plugged in now?
Yeah.
Well, it's not, it's working.
Not working? Is it the big, this little plug or the big plug?
You're big, you're full. Okay, so, you see this one coming from here?
Yeah, there it is.
There you go. I think that's a wonderful piece.
Sure is. So this is, again, a drawing for the big tableau.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's a drawing of it, and then there's a series he made, like I think at the lithograph.
The
Gemini?
Gemini, yeah. But this is a piece in itself. The pieces we have, which are called drawings,
They're really
in
pieces.
most cases, I think they're not only pieces, but I think they're sometimes surpass the piece, is what he calls a piece.
Well, I think you're right. I mean, some of the tableaus are really great, but some of the smaller pieces are just as good or better.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the drawings, what he calls the drawings. This, you know who that is. I think.
Larry.
Larry Bell.
Yeah.
It's one of the vapor drawings?
I think we're wrong. This is one of our very first good actors, was Dave Smith. He came out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's all. Was that 50,
57.
57? Yeah.
And this is drawing for the caddy court, spring court. That's the Irwin Gibbs issue.
That's beautiful. That's one of the acrylic ones, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, the other one we had was the canvas with dots. This is a acrylic.
I see We saw it down. That's a great painting. Did you know her?
Yes.
Was this done pretty much at the same time as the Rose?
In that period, yeah.
Uh-huh.
That was, before they took out, they had to take the wall out, take the road out of there.
Yeah.
I erupted at that time, it was like weird.
You witnessed the taking out
Yeah,
of the wall
yeah,
and everything?
yeah, right. She was with Wally Hedrick at the time, he was making these big tin can sculptures, beer can sculptures and stuff.
Was Bruce Conner there with that
Bruce
same
Conner
day?
Well, he was there, I didn't see him there that day, but he was working up there, of course. At the
Well,
time.
because
went
he
up,
was that day that the painting was taken out of her studio,
Yeah.
he was documenting it on film.
Oh, well, you know, I don't remember that, so it's possible we were there just before or just after, I think before, because I don't remember Bruce being there at the
Yeah.
time.
Must have taken hours and hours.
Oh, it
As
was,
a-
my thing was that, you know, it was like that thick.
Yeah, it's super thick.
Well, they had to get a moving truck to cut the wall out and take it out from the
Yeah.
second floor.
This is work by a neighbor of ours and a friend, husband of the woman that I'll show you up there. That this is a wood sculpture that's all carved. There's no metal in here. It's all a carved piece. He and Ed. He and I and Ed got a lot of his work. He made a lot of stuff that Ed.
Where's the sound coming? What's
He's living up, working on his art. You know, he's not selling art much. He's working in construction. He lives up in Idaho, and he and his wife. She's also a very good worker. Okay, she does a big piece like he had some big tableau kind of things. Yeah. Anyway, he does this with wood, and he's just extremely good.
I know that's an early Ed Barrio.
Yeah, it's an early Ed. This guy here, he got up one morning and he read the thing about the oil, the 7 sisters oil companies. He made this piece of 7 sisters in here. This oil can and hammer and all just comes out of Ray, which is interesting that it comes out of Ray.
That's pretty nice and thick as well.
What's that?
That's a nice thick paint layer on there as well.
Oh, yeah. Well, we wanted that painting the day she made it, but we never lived in a house with a big enough ceiling to take it. So one of the first things we did when we got this house was to get that painting.
For her.
Oh, we had it, I traded it. I traded it to, San Francisco I traded it to San Francisco Museum for a much more expensive Keenholz piece.
But you wanted this piece.
We wanted this piece, yeah. We had about.
Have you done a lot of trading over the years?
Yeah, fair enough. I think you've seen most of the art. That's Robert Young. He's just recently died. You know his work.
No.
Really good artist. Proves film. That's a relatively small piece. He worked in various media that took an enormous amount of crafts. And he's a brilliant painter. He's represented in the art. I think.
Huh. This is quite a. It looks like it was made to be a gallery.
Yeah, really. Well, when we bought this house, that whole wall, the window wasn't there. It was solid books. Floor to ceiling.
Wow.
With a library had it.
Who had the house?
Kenneth Tynan and his wife. He's a British
Theater critic.
critic. Yeah.
That people working at?
Yeah, we're chipping away the paint. We had the house trying to get it.
Is that it? Piece as well?
What's that?
Is that?
Well, that's Sharon Capri. Why don't you come take a look at that? She's, I think, she's part of that. She had a Catholic background in seminary, so, and she became interested in mummies. I think she saw that place where the mummies were all ensconced in these cubicles.
Yeah, the
So she
ossuaries.
Yeah, so she made work of all kinds, and some of it just, this was my favorite piece.
It's a pretty spooky, if you think about that, and then the illegal operation which you had for many years, a kind of creepy feel to
I don't think the creepy, you mean just masturbation and
abortion. And that's a big relief of that in the
You know,
dining.
Benny and I really were blessed. You think about it, living with these artists, little guys who were willing to do what it took to live outside the egg. And,
Yeah.
and really, be a model for a life that is genuine and kind and daring and revealing, sort of truthful. Well, I just recently, George came over one Sunday and brought over his copy of the preamble of the Constitution after Obama. We both worked for Obama really hard. So he brought over this preamble. I'll show you in the kitchen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you friendly with Grinsteins?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
'Cause I know they work there. They raise a lot of money.
They're lovely,
Yeah.
really nice people. Yeah.
They were involved in the Obama campaign a lot
yeah,
as well.
I'm sure
They did a
were.
lot.
I'm sure they were.
They have some nice pictures of themselves with him.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I saw that when I was over there. So,
I think Andrew wants to see the other early Kingholtz relief that's
what's
in the
that again?
dining room.
What the hell?
The other early
Oh,
Kingholtz
yeah.
relief.
Okay,
It's in the dining room?
It was in the dining room for a while, yeah.
Yeah. This was in the year 2000.
Oh, okay.
A Maya. And it's, yeah, it's a later piece.
I knew it was post LA.
The biggest supporter that Volk has ever had is this guy here. And, it's good that he's, without